It's not like Heinrich und Heimlich has his phone number out on the web. How do you find this information? We're back. So, as you all know, the Magnus protocols come off its hiatus on July 3rd, which is today as of recording, and I cannot shut up about it currently. Episode 41 has revealed a lot of stuff, and my spreadsheet and document are still recovering. So, though, because I'm not going to use my computer for this, we have our little notebook stand and dubbing it the protocol notebook, even though it's been used for a lot of other things. Right, okay. I have theories, I have questions, I have connections. I don't have the right string board this time because I kind of found that difficult to deal with. So forgive me, but this attitude and possible theme of this is still going to be the chaotic scene from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Check this out. Take a look at this. Jesus Christ, Charlie.
That right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail.
Okay, let's get started. Okay. First off, I'm going to be analyzing the statement of today's episode because it is absolutely insane. Oh my god. So, episode 41, Internal Investigation. Oh, by the way, if you couldn't get that from the first part, spoilers for Magnus Protocol up to episode 41, Internal Investigations. Knowing most of you probably already binged the episode because we're insane. Anyways, so overall, that entire statement intrigued me. I only listened to it once, probably should have done it several times before, researching, but I rush into things way too often in order to do that. So, we have, alchemy, obviously. When I was doing my research, another very important number is 7. Because we already went over in my last theories video, put that up there, or up, I don't remember which one of these. It's gonna be there. My last protocol video went over how number 5 is very significant in alchemy due to the 4 elements plus the proposed 5th element quintessence, aether, whichever, whoever floats your boat. And 7 is very similar to that with the metals, but as well as other things like heavenly bodies and organs, which, as this was an autopsy report of a bunch of organs being turned into metals, very important. So, and all of the metals that are part of the 7 alchemical metals are gold, silver, lead, copper, iron, tin, and mercury, or quicksilver. Which, for our mechanisms fans here, there probably are some, because overlap with the stuff that Johnny Sims does. So yes, we have that, which, kind of callback-ish to Natstia. Is that how you pronounce her name? I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, Natstia. She has quicksilver blood. I never knew what that meant until I was doing this research. Apparently her blood is made of just pure mercury. Carmilla, what were you thinking? Okay. Anyways, enough of that. There was this chart made by some guy, alchemist girl, maybe, Joanne? Joanne Daniel, I'm not going to try to pronounce their last name because I'm going to butcher it. It's in Latin and I'm going to put it somewhere on the screen. So I did the due diligence of finding out what those circles meant, because the circles have a metal, an angel, which we're going to ignore because it's not really relevant, a heavenly body, and an organ, because 7 vital human organs. So we have gold, which is linked with the sun and the heart, silver, which is linked with the moon and the brain, lead, which is linked with Saturn and the spleen, copper, which is linked with Venus and your kidneys, iron, which is linked with Mars and the gallbladder, tin, which is linked with Jupiter and the liver, and mercury, who is linked with Mercury and your lungs. I don't exactly know the connotations of why that's relevant. I just know very heavily alchemy-based, and another thing to file away into, new knowledge of alchemy that is probably going to become relevant later that I just don't know yet. I have a whole in-depth Tumblr post of what these metals' significance have within alchemy that I'll link in the description. But I don't want to go over that here because I have other stuff I want to go over, which, Colin, again. Is it really a May's conspiracy video of of Magnus Protocol without a Colin mention? This is 2 pages. Okay, that's it. Cut straight to the chase. So, my main thing about it, I know this episode was not about Colin. It linked Colin briefly, but those brief moments of linking Colin really just my mind, because with how Heinrich was first talking about how Colin found him, he's talking about how he was insulted because Colin said he was like the safest external he could find in Berlin according to him, which, Colin, how do you know that? How do you know about what externals are in Berlin, or maybe even Germany as a whole? You're an IT guy. How do you come... even if you did somehow have access to this information, did you make a spreadsheet? Yeah, anyways, that's completely boggled my mind, so I have theories of why he could somehow come across this information. With, my favorites and, some that just make sense. My main one is, the one that would probably make most sense in canon, not my favorite, is that Lena told him, which, honestly, kind of doubt. She's not the best at communicating, is she? So, there's that, and then, Freddy telling him, which I doubt he's Freddy. When has he ever been cooperative? And then here's my favorite. That I've been, this theory I've been clinging on to since April? No, not April. Maybe April? It was... No, because Protocol Season 1 ended in May, so just after May, I've been clinging to the idea that Colin was the external liaison before becoming the IT manager at the OIR. Now, this is very much, kind of out there, but how else would he have access to this information? Plus, we already know he knows way too much to just be an IT guy, because, his knowledge at this point that we know that for sure he knew is on par with what we are assuming Lena knows, and she's the ex-manager of the OIR. He knows something, somehow, and that's the only plausible explanation I can think of it, because there's no way Lena's just gonna tell the IT manager all this willy-nilly. So, I think he was the external liaison before becoming IT manager, before Gwen became external liaison, stuff like that. He knows about the externals. His conversation in episode 1 with Teddy or they'll kill me, that wasn't a funny joke. That was legitimate concern of a foreshadowing event. That was true. He knew it was a possibility that he could die working with Freddy. He knew that Freddy wasn't just a screwed up operating system written in German to piss him off. He knew Freddy is an external. He knew. Regardless. He knows stuff, and also just the idea of him making a spreadsheet is kind of funny. Just ranking all of the externals in Berlin or just Germany as a whole. It's funny to me, at least. It's that, and that also brings me to the theory of, with all of that assumption that he might have been the past external liaison or somehow involved more than just being the IT manager. Is that, with all that assumption, I think Freddy was purposefully trying to get the most competent people out of the OIR in Season 1. So, first off, we have Freddy giving Gwen the video of Lena shooting Claus, which was the video that got her fired in episode 30, Dead End Job. That was also the same episode that Colin died. Except we didn't actually get the statement until episode 31, but regardless, he died in episode 30, being eaten by Freddy. So, under the assumption that he does know a lot, Freddy was trying to remove the most competent people from the OIR by getting Lena fired and by removing Colin from the picture entirely, leaving them grasping for, dead strings. Because this also put Gwen, almost the most unqualified person in the position of manager, because honestly, Alice would have been a bit more qualified considering she's been working at the OIR for 10 years. Celia wouldn't be, she's new and fresh and stuff, but she still has knowledge of her own from TMA, but they don't know that. That's not something they'd work under. But yeah, in general, Freddy knows a lot. He knows everything that happens in the OIR, and even outside of it, because he's apparently bugged, Alice's phone. He's bugged Celia's phone, possibly Sam's when he was still here. Not Colin's, because Colin was careful. But in general, he knows. He has tabs on everything. He knows what people know. He had to remove the most competent people in order to keep them from finding out. Because if Sam, Alice, and Celia, and Gwen properly found out what was going on, it probably wouldn't have been a good thing for him. So, yeah. There's that. Now, honorable funny mentions, because, that was some pretty serious theorizing and stuff. So, there's first the idea of Colin teaching Heinrich computer stuff over the phone in, Manchester, London, that area, to Berlin. It's just, I have an IT manager, not even IT manager friend, just in general IT friend, Spade, who's constantly gone over how irritating it is to work an IT help desk over the phone when people's stuff isn't working. So just imagine being Colin, already stressed out about Freddy, teaching this eldritch German toy maker how to use a laptop. It's just really funny. Also, how did Colin contact Heinrich? He didn't have a phone, probably. I sincerely doubt it, even if he did. It's not like Heinrich on Heimlich has his phone number out on the web. How do you find this information? Which honestly leads to my friend Molly's idea of a spooky hotline where you just dial the number, call, and ask to speak to an external. Which, honestly, hilarious. I was laughing for a good few minutes about that. Honestly, I'll say thank you to Molly for listening to all my unhinged rants before I started compiling all here and making this video. And then, of course, Gwen's phone call with Lena, where Lena's like, you gotta take care of the OIR. That is your main job now. I cannot really tell you anything else. And then Gwen's like, okay, when little does Lena know it's already all gone crap. Alice got kidnapped by a German toy maker. Celia is having constant breakdowns. Colin's dead. Sam is in a different universe, and Teddy is possibly working for Starkwall or some other sketchy organization. Though, to be fair, most of that was not Gwen's fault. Day one on the job, night one on the job, Sam disappears, Colin dies. And she's not really involved with Teddy anymore, so I guess that one's kind of Lena's fault. But it's just really funny. Yeah, well, that's all I have. I was really immersed in, Colin and the element stuff, because honestly, I love researching alchemy. This is how my stuff stays the same. Oh, also, that reminds me, DPHW numbers match up again. So, episode 41 has the DPHW number of 5535, which matches to another case file. I forgot what number it is, but it's the one that Augustus read that was about Jonah Magnus. I think it's driver or rider or something. I'll correct myself here if need to be. But yeah, it's 5535, which is close to the whole fives balance thing. And it's just overall connections. I really liked that. And woo, got Chester to read another statement. It's been a while. We've only had Norris for a bit. So yeah, we got that. That's fun. That's fun and dandy. More numbers, more for my goblin brain. I didn't even do that one today. When it came out on July 1st, I was able to read the description. I fully cataloged it in there, and I was freaking out. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this Unhinged Rant Part 2. There's probably going to be a lot more of these now that Protocol is back, and if they're going to be releasing more, heavy videos that have this type of theorizing needed, you're definitely going to get used to seeing a lot of me doing this. Constantly freaking out. So, hope you enjoyed that. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. If you figured out any other things, tell me, please. I need to know this stuff. Yeah. Have a nice day, folks. Goodbye.